Hello, everyone, and welcome to Travel Webcast Wednesday with Baxter Media, your partner in travel. I'm Dan McDonald, Webinar Manager for Travel Webcast Wednesday. Today, we'll be exploring the future of travel and tourism in a post-COVID-19 world with experts from across the industry. And the theme for today's webcast is selling luxury. Our first segment will feature an expert Q&A with Ilana Vallo, founder and CEO of Twill Travel. And our second segment will consist of a thought-provoking panel discussion that you won't want to miss. Our moderator for today is Barbara Dirnberger, National Sales Manager for Discover the World. With more than 30 years in the travel industry, Barb Dirnberger can certainly call herself a veteran, having worked in Canada, Germany, Thailand, and South Africa. She has worked with airlines, cruise lines, tour operators, as well as travel technology. Barb is currently working with Discover the World Canada, managing the Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line account. Now, just before we get into things, I'd like to let all of our viewers know that at the end of each segment, you'll have the chance to ask questions to our panelists. To do so, just type them into the Q&A box found in your Zoom toolbar, and those questions will be answered in due time. If you happen to be watching this on Facebook Live, feel free to submit your questions to the comments box. And remember, this is a live session, so your patience is appreciated during any technical difficulties that might arise. Okay, Barb, I'll now hand things over to you.
Thanks, Dan, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Hope you're enjoying the great weather if you're in the Toronto area. And we hope that you find the next 50 to 60 minutes or so engaging, motivational, even thought-provoking. We think the topic is truly timely: how to successfully sell luxury travel. That statement's pretty provoking already, don't you think? I mean, how can you sell anything professionally or successfully right now, excuse me, when the travel industry has been so crushed by COVID-19? So for those of you who haven't seen The Sound of Music, maybe you remember Julie Andrews singing, "Nothing lasts forever. Nothing ever could." That's the limit of my karaoke. So I'd like to introduce our guest, a seasoned 12-year plus expert on luxury travel, the founder and CEO of a boutique luxury travel consultancy in Toronto called Travel Well in Luxury, Ilana Vallo. Ilana has been recognized as a top 30 under 30 in Luxury Travel Agent magazine, top 40 under 40 in Canadian Traveler, and has been nominated twice by her virtuoso industry peers as most admired advisor in Canada. That's a lot of accomplishment, a lot of expertise. Congratulations, Ilana, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm thinking to start us off, I would like to quote from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the definition of the word luxury: a condition of abundance or great ease and comfort. Sumptuous environment lived in luxury, something adding to pleasure or comfort, an indulgence in something that provides pleasure, satisfaction, or ease. So I think we can all agree that's a pretty good definition. So let me ask you, Ilana, what's then the definition of luxury travel?
So I really do like that definition, and I think when you add travel in the mix, it's a lot of the same concepts and words that you'd be using. Comfort, abundance, ease is a big one. With regards to like luxury travel in particular, the definition of that will really be different depending on who you're talking to. Some might see luxury travel purely as the 5-star resorts, the luxury yachts, flying private, fully bespoke itineraries, whereas others might see luxury in sort of the less tangible things like saving you time, creating an itinerary that is so specific to your individual needs, interests, and travel styles. The ability to spend time in beautiful destinations with people you love. It doesn't have to be opulent. It doesn't have to be the most expensive. It doesn't have to be the most sumptuous, but it does have to be personalized. And depending on who you talk to, they will all have a different definition for you.
Yeah, that's so valuable. It's like we were sort of talking about it yesterday. It's really in context, isn't it? It's just having even someone walk you through an itinerary, helping you make your choices, making you realize what it is that you as the traveler really want, so you can define your sense of luxury. Because those words are great, and we all, no matter what economic scale we're in, we all have our little needs for luxury. So what is the approach that you would take then for a client in luxury travel?
So, I mean, the first thing we do with all clients, especially with new clients or with prospects, is we have a conversation, we get to know them. So we ask them those questions. We try to understand what luxury means to them. We try to understand what their definition of comfort is, what their definition of service, of different experiences, how they want to spend their time when they're traveling. So the first thing we do is we have a conversation, and then depending on the information that we're able to gather and how the client likes to travel and what their expectations are and where they've been in the past and what their vision and goals are for that future travel experience, we then sort of set a plan in motion on how to service them accordingly.
Can I ask you, do you find that you need to have more than one conversation, especially with a new client, to be able to determine that?
I don't think so. I think, if you ask the right questions at the onset, you can gather a lot of information and get a pretty good understanding quickly of the type of person that you're dealing with. And those questions can be as simple as, where were the last 3 places you went? What are your top 2 favorite resorts of all time? What are some of your most treasured travel memories? And the answers that they give you will be very telling around what type of travel that they like to do. And, if they tell you one thing, or if they tell you about their travel memories, but are, telling you that they want it to be more exclusive, or if they want to have more adventure put into it, or if they want you to create a more tailored itinerary that has more, private excursions and tour guides, then, you can use the information that you have to work towards their goals.
I guess that's, I had not quite thought about it like that. That's very telling, because I'm sure also the way they first approach you and they come in, they're probably giving you lots of ideas, things that you had expressed before, for example, where you said that a client would like to go where someone else had gone just because they'd heard it's such a great place, but you don't necessarily lock them in to that choice.
Well, I think, again, especially with new clients, if someone calls you up and says, I want, you to book me a trip here, Hotel X, for example, we don't just say, okay, what are your dates? We ask them why. Why do you want to go here? And like we were saying, a lot of people are like, well, my friend went there, they had a great time, so I'm going to go. And sometimes it's a great fit, based on all the questions that we ask them and their travel history and the things that we've been able to understand that they like to do. And sometimes there might be a better fit. And we will propose that. And it's a careful conversation that you have to have, especially with new clients, because you don't want to seem overbearing. But the truth is, people are coming to us for our expertise. We spent years working with clients. We spent years personally visiting different properties, different destinations, working with our local contacts on the ground, and have a much probably better idea than the average person as to, which properties and which destinations are appropriate for various types of travelers. And in some cases, if somebody comes to us, especially, new client aside, existing clients, when existing clients come to us and tell us, oh, my friend just got back from X, I want to go there, we can very quickly tell them, yes, great option, like love it, when you want to go, or you know what, that's a great property, but based on what I know about you, based on where we've sent you in the past, based on your feedback about that destination, I think you should go to B. And that's another good point, actually. The first part of our job is asking the right questions, digging deep, getting to understand the client, and then sending them off on those trips. But it's just as important to follow up when they get back, to understand what they thought of the experience, what they liked, what they didn't like, what part of the hotel was fantastic, where would they say that the hotel could improve? What part of their trip would they change? What wouldn't they change? What didn't they like? I send an email, or I call a client after every trip. And one of the first things I say is that I welcome positive feedback, but more importantly, I encourage constructive feedback, because constructive feedback is really the best way to get to know a client.
So true. We can use that same parallel for restaurants. I mean, you can go somewhere, have a bad experience, never share constructively. I like that word very much. And then surprise, you find the restaurant's not around anymore. I think that's really very excellent. So then let me ask you, where do you find new clients? This is always a trick for everyone in any business, I think, but where would you consider sourcing new clients in this level of travel?
So for our agency specifically, most of our clients do come from word of mouth. So I always say the best way for us, the best way we get new clients is from current clients recommending us to their friends, their family, and we like that approach, because then more often than not, our clients are recommending us to like-minded travelers, people who they know will travel like them, and who will appreciate the service that we provide. And so we strive to provide, as service to us is the number one, because that's what keeps having that's what our clients keep coming back for. And that's what allows us to receive the recommendations that we do. I know there are some agents in our agency that are very successful on social media. They have a great social media presence and have generated quite a lot of leads in that way. And then I often get approached by people locally, new agents that ask how they can generate new clientele. And I always say the first place to look is within your own surroundings. So your friends, your families, your acquaintances, let them know what you're doing. Let them know where you've been. Look and see where they're going and reach out and see if they're looking for some help. And then sort of on top of that, if you want to start specializing in certain areas, look for places in your locale where there are like-minded people. So whether it's country clubs, whether it's tennis clubs, book clubs, there are so many opportunities to go find like-minded people who are interested in the types of trips that you might be interested in designing.
Very good advice. Yep, I agree with you. The word of mouth and your own experience, it just speaks volumes. And maybe when we get past this post-COVID, we could include things like gyms and our own trips again. And because we spoke about that, right? When you're on group trips or even family trips, all the people that you come across are all potentials that should be hearing about what your expertise is.
And not only people you come across, but I find whenever I go on a trip, if I'm posting on Facebook or on Instagram, on social media, just pictures of me and my family, and I'll tag where we are, without fail, I will often either get comments from friends or family saying like, oh, I was thinking about that place, let me know how it was. Or they'll reach out to me after and said, I noticed that you were there. I'm thinking about going with my family. Can you tell me about it? What did you think? So put yourself out there. It doesn't have to be a sales pitch. Just let people know where you are. Let people know where you're going. And it might not be so apparent, but they're watching and they're listening. And you never know when they'll come back to you and ask for some help.
Very true. So then let's just talk about why selling luxury travel is actually a good business. Let's just sort of address that. We all have the idea that people with lots of money, you can make more money, but it's not just that. Can you talk to selling luxury travel?
Sure. Selling travel, any travel right now isn't a good business. But yes. Once this is all over, it will be. And I think once this is all over, luxury travel is going to be the first sector of the business to bounce back for sure. In itself, when you go back to that definition that you spoke about, it sort of talked about privacy, personalization, exclusivity. I mean, with everybody's hyper awareness now around being careful and making sure that everything is clean and that we're keeping our distance. I mean, luxury travel, especially on the very high end, is designed for that. You know, exclusive rentals, flying private, yacht charters. Those are all, you know, tailor-made for social distancing. You've got the place to yourself. It doesn't get better than that. The luxury property chains around the world have all implemented, you know, health programs in partnership with some of the top tier health organizations, institutions around the world. So you can go to their properties with confidence that, you know, everything has put in place to make sure that you are in the safest position possible. You know, even flying business class, that in itself, it's again, it gives you more space, gives you more room, there's less people. So those people who've always traveled in that way will probably continue to do so, if not take it a step further. And those that historically haven't necessarily made the jump to business class or, you know, ever considered booking a villa or flying private might start thinking more about that route, because when historically it might have been thought of as a little bit frivolous or unnecessary, now you can put it in a context of being responsible and safe. So they might be more willing to spend their money and, you know, make those decisions to go in that route.
One thing that's been talked about a lot, even on an aviation webinar I'd done a few weeks back, is that there's so much value being seen now in retail counseling and travel counseling, and that, you know, service fees now really have a true meaning and a place. So in terms of good business, I'm sure that was the case for this level of travel prior, and now it's got to be even more valuable. Would that be fair to say?
I think so. I mean, listen, with so much information available around the world, not only destination information, but with regards to all the different resorts, now what the protocols are and what people are doing, what the hotels are doing, and, you know, what is socially acceptable and what's not socially acceptable, and where can you go safely, and where, you know, what borders are open, what borders are closed. I mean, there is so much information to sift through. It's our job as travel advisors to curate all of that and be your advisor. And you know, I think there are a lot of people that appreciate that and are willing to pay for that. I mean, what we ultimately do is save our clients time and help them spend their time as wisely as possible. So just like you pay a financial advisor to manage your money, and you pay a trainer to show you how to work out in the gym, you know, people are paying us to help them plan their time when they travel and make sure that they're doing it in the most efficient, safest, personalized way possible.
Yeah, certainly sounds like money well spent. So we already talked about, you just mentioned it actually, that you think that this travel will come back. One of the first waves, let's say, in terms of all the demographics that might be out there. So post-COVID opportunities, let's talk about those. Is optimism, what are your clients saying? Are they saying, what are they saying?
Our clients are dying to travel, most of them. And again, there's, you know, you've got all ends of the spectrum. You're going to have clients that won't step foot off the ground until there's, you know, a vaccine in place. And then you have clients that are ready to go tomorrow once the borders open. So it's all across the board, but I have been hearing from a lot of our clients. A lot of our clients are totally restless. They're all dying to travel. They all can't wait to travel. They're apprehensive a little bit to travel to certain destinations, but they all want to go. And if the borders were open, they probably would be traveling a lot more than they are now. I think it's really the uncertainty that's getting everybody at this point. I mean, if we could with certainty tell them that by Christmas, you know, borders will be open, things will be calm, you'll be able to travel and not have to quarantine. we'd be seeing a lot more pickup in our bookings than we are now, because, you know, we can't say that with certainty. So at the moment, it's sort of just wait and see.
I'm just looking at international luxury travel market survey. It came out 2 days ago. They surveyed actually over 1,000 international personal travel counselors in the luxury market. And they came from Asia Pacific, Europe, North America, Latin America, globally. And the planners are saying 50% of them believe that there will be bookings. They even use the word rebound by the end of the year. That's very optimistic,
Yeah.
but I'm just quoting the results of the survey. I guess what I'm curious to know is that we know that post, like in 2019, there was so much travel. There were continual bookings. I think you mentioned that your clients were traveling at least 2 times a year, 2019 and prior. Yeah. So what are you seeing post-COVID? What do you think the trip planning will be like post-COVID, at least in, let's say, the near term?
In all honesty, I think in the near term, it's going to be a very slow build. I don't think that travel will bounce back by the end of the year. I wish I could say differently, but I don't see that happening. I think it's going to be a slow build. I think those that are less risk averse, those that aren't as concerned about COVID, as long as the borders are open, as long as there's no quarantine requirements, I think they will be traveling. But I think that group is smaller than most people would like to think. I think we're looking at, you know, a good year before we even get close to our 2019 numbers, probably more like 1.5 to 2 years. And I hate saying that, and I hope I'm wrong. But at this point, right now, today, there is just far too much uncertainty, and things are still moving so quickly. I just can't see it bouncing back before the end of the year, at least.
And then we're thinking, let's say when they do come back, and I mean, no one knows if it'll be that takeoff, but would it be larger groups, like families traveling together? Would it be maybe once a year? What kind of travel do we think?
So I definitely think larger groups. I think family gatherings are going to be big. I mean, this whole experience has taught everybody that, you know, seeing people, having the opportunity to see your family is so important. I've been hearing that from a lot of clients as well, especially those who've got families sort of scattered around the country. So I absolutely think that, you know, multi-generational travel, which prior to COVID was already huge for us, I think that's going to grow even more, because again, it's all those grandparents that are thinking, you know, is this going to happen again? When's going to be the next opportunity to spend time with my families? Those families are going to want to gather together and go away and meet somewhere. I also think that you're going to see more people looking at longer trips. So instead of taking, you know, 4 or 5 smaller trips throughout the year, maybe somebody will take 1 or 2 longer trips. I'm venturing to guess that more people will opt, at least in the short term, to go on single flight trips as well. So less connections. I've heard from a lot of clients that they're not going to be as, you know, eager to connect to their destination. So they'll probably be looking at options where they can fly direct. But I do think as soon as they can, we will see a small surge in sort of the short trips anywhere. Like just get away somewhere nice, whether it's to an island in the Caribbean, whether it's to, you know, across the pond, anywhere. They just want to get away.
Yeah. Well, let me throw my own personal thoughts into this at this moment, take advantage of this. You can see I'm in that boomer age. And so my thinking prior was I'd always been a boutique, smaller footprint type of a traveler. And I'm now of the opinion, seeing the clock ticking, and I know there's so many of us across Canada in that age group, that I will definitely be one who will go higher in terms of where I will travel to and what I'm willing to pay, and would do exactly that. I'm looking for longer, and I'm looking for absolute ease, abundance, and pleasure.
You know, I've heard that. And I've heard clients also say, you know, in the past, I may have, you know, not gone that extra to that larger room, or I may not have gone to that nicer hotel. But this experience has taught me, like, don't wait till next time. Do it now, because you never know when travel might be taken away from you again. So I think a lot of people are thinking that that way. And I think there will be a greater appreciation for travel after this as well.
Yes, I'm in agreement. So let's just do our last question here is like, and this is a tough one. It was easy when we put it together prior, but where would you travel to now? We're going to talk about domestic travel because, you know, it's as you said at the outset, everybody's itching to go somewhere, anywhere. I've even been looking, quite honestly. So, you know, I mean, if you could, where would you travel now?
So originally, when this all started, I got super excited about taking a road trip to the East Coast because, you know, as like a lot of my clients too, in the summer, most of our clients would go to Europe. They'd fly to Europe, they'd go to Italy, Switzerland, France, wherever it was, but they wouldn't stick around our own country. So when this all started, they're like, well, maybe this is a great opportunity to, you know, explore Canada. But then we very quickly learned that Canada doesn't want you exploring it, you know, during times of COVID. And all the provinces were closed. So that really limited our ability to do anything. And I believe they're still closed. I think it's the 17th that they're going to be, where they are potentially reopening. They might not, we'll see. So, I mean, where would I go right now within Canada? We're pretty limited. I mean, I'm speaking to you from up north, where I'm very fortunate to have a lake house, and we're spending a lot of our time up here. I think if I could travel anywhere, listen, now's the time to stay home. This summer, I'm telling you, especially for Canadians, and I should have mentioned this earlier, when I say clients aren't traveling and they're sort of sticking around, it's mostly within Canada. I know in the US, there are lots of people traveling because you can, or you were able to travel freely in the States. I think that's also changing a bit. But in Canada, I mean, now, if you can explore Canada, once the provinces are open, I would definitely encourage people to explore our own country. I think a lot of the tourism providers will be hurting across the country. Some of our favorite properties in BC have decided not even to open for the season because they just couldn't be guaranteed that they'd get enough business to sustain themselves for the season. So frankly, I'd say if you're living in Canada and you want to travel, stay in Canada. Show your country some support. Explore this beautiful country that we all live in, because we don't do that enough.
Super, that's great. So we have a few questions, and I'm just having a look here. Forgive me. What are your thoughts about the luxury travel shows that plan on actually taking place? For example, this International Luxury Travel Mart in Cannes. Do you think it's wise really for luxury advisors? I believe it's going to be in this December.
Yes. As of, I mean, I did receive confirmation today that they are going through with it in December. Listen, it's a tough one. Again, it's so early. Things are moving so quickly. I think if they can still put on the show in a safe manner, then I don't see why they shouldn't. But time will tell. I think it's early. We'll see. I mean, I love seeing our industry get together and support one another. I am all for us supporting all of our suppliers, our fellow advisors. So if there's a way to do that in a safe environment, then I encourage it. Would I travel to Cannes tomorrow at this point? No, but I might consider going in December.
Yeah, isn't it crazy that 6 months even seems like too far out to be able to make a definitive decision?
I mean, when this was all starting, we thought it was going to be maybe a month, maybe 2 months. I don't think anybody ever anticipated it would be July and we'd still be on lockdown, essentially.
Yeah. Let me move to the next question. So, curious to know what the travel advisor wants from their partners, particularly hotels and resorts. Once you know about protocols and offering, what is it that you need to know from your supplier, your hotel resort partners?
You know what? I think a lot of our partners have been great about sharing their protocols and what they're doing to ensure that their guests are in a safe environment. And to be fair, I think it's assumed. It's assumed that if your hotel is open and if you are a high-end resort or property, that you have taken the necessary protocols to make sure our clients are safe. So just having that information available to us, somewhere we can find it on your website, is super important. Also, even more important, what about the experience that the client typically has on your property is going to change? I think that is so key, because if you're going to send a client to a property and the pool is closed and the spa is closed and there's only one restaurant out of 4 open, the client needs to know that, because that's going to impact their experience and they need to be able to make an informed decision as to whether they're okay with that or not. So aside from, everybody's wearing masks and, there's no valet parking, what is going to fundamentally impact the client experience? What is open and what is not open, and what restrictions are going to be in place that they need to know about?
Super. And I've got to say, that's the perfect segue into our panel discussion, because we have suppliers that are on hand to answer some of the questions. So Alana, I have to thank you very much. This has really been a pleasure to speak with you. I hope everyone enjoyed this, and we're
Barbara,
all gonna.
it's we actually do have a few more that were submitted to the Q&A box.
Oh, I am so sorry.
No, that's okay. We still have a few minutes, so I think if it's okay with you, we'll get to a couple of those.
100%.
Great. Okay. So the first one is from an anonymous attendee who asked, have you personally seen increased interest in luxury/private travel options like private villa rentals, private flights, yacht rentals, etc., from your clients?
Yes, 100%. I alluded to it before, but we've got lots of clients that can afford to fly private and choose not to because they find it's frivolous or it's not necessary, or at least they used to choose not to. Now they are absolutely thinking more about those options. They're asking for quotes for flights that they normally would have taken commercial. They want to know, what their private options are. Villas as well, for sure. And we even have some clients exploring yacht opportunities with their families. So there is most definitely an increase in sort of higher ticket, but more exclusive travel options as a result of this.
That's excellent. Sounds really promising. And Bill asks, what major hotel brands will be the first to reintroduce comfort, niceties/amenities with hotel stays?
A lot of them are doing it now, and some never even stopped, really. I was on a call a couple weeks ago with the GM from the Peninsula Beverly Hills. They've remained open this whole time. Their gym is still open. They have people by the pool. They're offering, I think their food outlet wasn't open, but they are offering like food service in the cabanas. So they're finding ways, especially the higher end luxury resorts, they're finding ways to still try to maintain a high level of service, personalization, and exclusivity, despite all of these restrictions that have been put in place.
Thanks, Alana. And the next question is, do you think travelers will be more inclined to splurge on one trip that is longer and more expensive, as opposed to taking multiple trips per year, like in 2019?
Yes, absolutely. And I think Barbara and I both alluded to that. I think people will not only longer and maybe spend a bit more money, but they might not move around as much as they used to. So sometimes we send people to Italy and, they'd go to Rome, then they'd go to Amalfi, then they'd go to Capri, and then they might go back to Positano. They might, just stay in 1 or 2 spots instead of traveling to 4 or 5. At least that's what we've been hearing from our clients, is that they'd be less open to bouncing around and more interested in sort of having one spot as their home base and then maybe doing day trips from there.
Great, thank you. And Frank asks, he says, we believe that Canada should implement the same procedures to provide the $4,000 credit to families tax deductible if they spend it on the tourism industry. What is your opinion on this?
I mean, I'm all for supporting the tourism industry. Everybody in this industry has been hit incredibly hard, and anything that we can do to support them, I sign me up for that.
Oh, absolutely. I second that. And the very last question we'll get to here is, are there any other travel trends you forecast in a post-COVID-19 world?
One thing I think would be very interesting, and I don't think this is a trend, I don't think it's going to be a forecast, but I think that this whole experience has demonstrated that the traditional office environment isn't necessary, or as necessary as a lot of people thought. So I would not be surprised if I see more families sort of picking up and moving somewhere different for a year or two, working from there, exploring a different destination. Individuals doing something similar. I know people have been doing it for years, but this specific experience has demonstrated that you really can work from anywhere and don't have to be in an office. And I think more people will and probably should take advantage of that.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Alana, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Alana, and thank you, Barbara. We'll now take a minute to prepare for segment 2, our panel discussion for today.
Okay, wait. Okay.
Great. Hello, Elaine. Hello, Chris. Hello, Moira.
Hello.
We'll start very soon.
Daniel, does my sound okay now this time?
You do, yes. You're coming through loud and clear.
Better than before.
So welcome back, everyone. This next segment will consist of a panel discussion featuring Tanya Kadekian, PR and Trade Manager for Tahiti Tourism Canada, Elaine Carnegie, President of CanLink Travel Representatives, Moira Smith, General Manager for Africa and the Middle East for GoAway Travel, and Chris Naruzzi, CEO of Fly GTA. Okay, Barb, ready when you are.
All right. Well, this is my lucky day. I get to talk to so many people. Don't get to see it. Well, I get to see you. Of course I do. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
So thank you
Hello.
for joining me. We really appreciate you being here, and we're sure that everyone is keen now to hear your insights from the supplier and the wholesaler side. A nice follow-up after having listened to all the great points that Alana made. You each have very unique products that fill that desire for luxury travel that retailers are looking for their clients. So shall we just revisit the definition of the word luxury? I'm sure none of us have forgotten it. The condition of abundance or great ease and comfort, sumptuous environment, lived in luxury, something adding to pleasure or comfort, and indulgence in something that provides pleasure, satisfaction, or ease. And Tanya, I'm looking at your backdrop there. That's definitely comforting.
I thought I'd give everyone the opportunity to be inspired by the islands of Tahiti.
It's so thematic. It's so great. Alrighty. So, I mean, Alana had just defined luxury travel in addition to what Merriam-Webster did as really a personalized context for each traveler, that a luxury consultant creates the luxury levels that are really thoroughly thought out with detailed counseling, right? So I'd like to, got a few questions here for the panel, and I'd like to ask you what you think your clients will be looking for in regards to travel styles and product types. So Moira, can we start with you?
Certainly. I think
Ilana really hit the nail on the head. It's very, very personalized. But as a general, I think initially we'll see clients booking more private tours and probably traveling with their people, as in their family of smaller groups of families and friends. I think there'll be an emphasis on health and social distancing. Buffets will be a thing of the past, as will communal dining, unless it's by choice. I think travelers are looking for connection and exploration. There'll be a return to slow travel, which both you and Ilana alluded to. And I think that means they'll be staying in fewer places, but spending longer time and really making the most of the destination. I also think there'll be a trend to get away from the crowds and to more remote and exclusive areas. And I do think that after this lockdown, there'll be an increase in experiential travel and people wanting opportunities to give back.
So can I just do a quick follow-on question for you then, Moira, before we jump over, is because you're planning tours, do you see you changing the type of tours that you're going to be planning in the future going forward?
I think there will be an element. I mean, one of the things that Go has always done so well is that we've completely tailor-made the journey according to what the client's preferences are. So to use South Africa as an example, it's not uncommon to have somebody choosing to stay in a high-end luxury lodge, maybe with a luxury train trip down to Cape Town, then staying in a budget property in Cape Town because they're really only using it as a room, and then maybe looking at flying into Namibia and staying in a lodge where there's not another person in sight for 1,000 kilometers. So I think I don't think we'll be changing because we've always offered such a variety, but what we do think will happen is that the elements that people choose to include in their trips will change.
Mm-hmm. So Elaine, let me ask you, your company represents a number of very lovely properties, boutique properties I've seen across the Caribbean, even in England. What are you thinking? What are you thinking in terms of what are they going to be looking for in travel styles and product?
I think that the agents and they're obviously for their clients, we're very lucky with the properties that we represent, because what the agents and the clients are looking for now is something that our properties were doing pre-pandemic anyway. Some of the basics, for example, that you're now looking for are, lots of space on the beach, small boutique properties. I find actually the word luxury can sometimes be overused, depending on what, everyone's own definition is. But for our properties and the agents looking at our properties, it is small properties with a lot to offer, including the ease. So, for example, if you're looking at our Jamaica options with 30-something suites at Round Hill and 27 villas, or Trial with over 90 villas, or Jamaica Inn with 1 and 2 bedroom cottages. These are all small, but with amazing experiences. Jade Mountain with 29 sanctuaries over 1,500 square feet, but at the same time, you're sitting on over 600 acres of property. So you can go hiking by yourself or scuba or kayaking. So what our properties are known for historically is a really good thing. And now they're enhancing on that as we move forward, all the detailed health and safety protocols. So what the luxury client was looking for before is the same and now enhanced. So I feel our property a little bit ahead of the game, hopefully, and putting in place all the things that people are going to be looking for.
You certainly sound perfectly positioned. Oh my goodness, they should be shopping.
We're about that.
Yes, gosh. So, and Tanya, we know Tahiti is just, oh my goodness, so much choice in Tahiti. Do you want to speak about what's available there in terms of styles and product?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Barb. So firstly, thank you for having me on the panel. I think before I answer that specific question, it's important for me to mention to all of you that part of our mission as the official tourism office for the islands of Tahiti, aka French Polynesia, the country's official name, is to provide information about the 118 islands that we represent and arm our trade professionals with the right marketing tools to ensure the client's successful trips. and with safety in mind at all times. So with that being said, I think what we believe is that people are really looking for more than that bucket list vacation. Now it's really about wanting to feel certain about the world again. And what we are doing with the islands of Tahiti is really strengthening that seclusion messaging and using that to an advantage point. We're absolutely certain that the islands of Tahiti will be able to answer that deep emotional need for that connection to their loved ones, being able to provide beautiful accommodations for larger groups and those who are looking for, more spaces to themselves. And with that, also how they can be rejuvenated by our untouched kind of natural environment and being, again, recharged by that serene seclusion, along with offering just beautiful people. We have a vibrant culture there. So that's really number one. We also believe that people will want to experience longer stays. So you did speak about that before, Barb. I can't exactly speak to reduced pricing right now, but I also know that our hotel partners are working hard to provide added value, such as those reduced rates, but also additional amenities, daily meal plans. So when clients are looking to stay at those properties or book the airlines, that added value will be there. And I think perhaps the most important thing to know is the product type that we offer. We're the birthplace of the overwater bungalow. This is the best product type when thinking about luxury travel for that post-COVID traveler being secluded while also feeling exclusive.
No, just as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking back to what Elena had mentioned about a possible trend is us realizing that we don't have to work in an office anymore. Some of us are thinking about that. An overwater bungalow seems like a good place to be for a year.
I agree.
Oh, so let me move on to you, Chris. I mean, I had a look at some of your aircraft just before coming online, and it seems to me that you are definitely offering a product that will suit the travel styles and needs that people are looking for post this COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously we saw a big trend in the transition from the airline sectors to the private jet world. We really are trying to fill that gap, and we've reduced our pricing in order to create new product that hasn't existed before. It's been a very confusing scenario for us with regards to the borders being closed. To be honest, we've been traveling freely with no restrictions, and even people going for leisure to the United States. The only thing that we have been seeing is the 14-day quarantine when it comes with entering Canada again. But it seems like people are traveling freely. We've seen an increase in demand with Canadian product. A lot of people are going to the East Coast doing golfing trips. People are going to Vancouver. So there is travel that's happening despite the lack of the airlines. And our really creation of the new product is to try to create this existence that hasn't been there between the transitional bridge of the airlines and the private jet world. Traditionally, I found you had to be very wealthy to really even think about the private jet options or lifestyle, but now it's whoever was on the borderline and just had thought about it once is definitely taking the step and just trying to get more information. And I think our company, Fly GTA, we're the only non-managed private jet operator in all of Canada. So we are able to really play with the pricing when it comes to supply and demand and try to create new options. So I would encourage people to look at the private option because it is more attainable than people really do think. And with us coming into the game within the past 4 or 5 years, it's very unique. And the other factor that I'd like to mention for everyone is the airports. Forever when we're talking about travel consultations and travel advisors, everyone only looks at Pearson Airport. But our base, we are actually not at Pearson Airport. We do fly from Pearson Airport, but we'll choose places closer to home. So we depart from Billy Bishop Airport. We depart from Buttonville Airport, Niagara District Airport, from Montreal, whether Trudeau or Mirabel, in Barrie, Kitchener, Waterloo, London. So we're really attacking all of the outer markets that in the past were just that outer markets, but now they're going to become primary primary options for a lot of people. So I'm really excited to see this. And I think as people experience it more and more and realize that it can be on an affordable level, especially if you're going with family or if you're going with friends, it just comes down to grouping, 6, 8, 14 people, whatever it may be. And it is sometimes comparable to the traditional options that existed before.
That's great. And thank you for pointing out too where you're flying, because that was a question for our audience across Canada, so that we have a sense of where your operations are.
Yeah, so everything that I mentioned is where our bases are, but we do fly internationally, but our niche and our expertise is primarily the Caribbean and East Coast. So the Floridas, we do a lot of business travel between places like New York or Washington. But we have packages in Jamaica, Cuba, Cayman Islands, Dominican Republic, so everywhere in the Caribbean that you can imagine. That we're truly the best company that could be picked for.
Super. So let me ask you all, and we'll just go back to you, Moira, then. In terms of addressing the travel niche now, in this current COVID world, how can I ask this? I mean, are you, and let's none of us really try to put a timeline on this, because I think that's just impossible. But, I've seen graphs where after 9/11, after SARS, after the subprime of 2008, and just looking at the aviation results, the flights it took off the demand. The graph just goes straight up. So let's imagine that. So are you anticipating then, are you preparing for this increased demand? Is it too early? Is it something that you can do now? What are you doing now, let's say, for this anticipated huge pent-up demand? And we'll start with you, Moira.
Well, I think in the grand scheme of things, it is early days. I think all of us in the industry are doing whatever we can to persuade existing bookings or passengers with existing bookings to postpone, not to cancel. So certainly from a GoAir point of view, we're offering incentives to customers in terms of doubling their deposits if they move it and adding value to their business. What we're looking to do, because particularly in the luxury market, we're seeing in places like Africa that there is already becoming a very big problem in terms of availability in the second part of next year. So what we're doing as a company is we're looking for ways to persuade travelers via our travel agency community to book in terms of the first half of next year. We unfortunately don't see too much of an increase in travel or a recovery of travel up until the end of the next year. We'd certainly love to see that. But I think what we all need to do is to do whatever we can to encourage travel for next year. So part of that also includes flexible travel conditions, flexible deposit options, the ability for customers to travel right up until sort of 15 or 30 days before, and if they are not comfortable with traveling to that destination, to be able to move it to another destinations. We're finding that our partners on the ground in all of the destinations that we send are being very flexible about this, and I think that's going to be what needs to happen. Certainly in the short term, that we all need to be very flexible and do whatever we can to encourage that market that is wanting to travel now to travel and to put down some money.
Thanks. That's pretty assuring. And I think a lot of us in the industry would be very grateful if we could continue with flexibility in our choices, right? Even post-COVID, we recognize that, inventory is blocked, and once the aircraft door closes, the money is gone. But it's something that I think a lot of us would like to see a little bit more flexibility continue on. So Elaine, let me ask you, in terms of like getting your properties out there to Alana's kinds of clients, what are you doing now?
Because we can't visit a lot of people right now, like everybody else, we're doing a lot of personal calls to agents and having some really good conversations with them about what they're seeing and what they need help with, and reminding them of how we can help them because of the type of properties we have. So like Moira said, ease and flexibility with deposits and change of dates. Also important for next year, because these properties are small, to start suggesting them now. They might not be ready to book now, but keep these options top of mind for when they are ready to book. Because they're, again, independent owned hotels, we're in touch with the owners, the general managers, the res managers. We can get every question answered for them, no matter who they're booking through. So if they're booking through a tour operator, we can still give them extra tools to help them close that sale. We can give them descriptions of these 10-bedroom villas or 2-bedroom suites or whatever they need. So, you know, you've got, for example, some agents who maybe had clients getting married in the Caribbean who are now delaying that till next year. You know, we need to talk about getting that on the books as soon as we can, because we might only have 30 suites in that hotel. So although everybody is not booking right now, it doesn't take long for these smaller properties to fill up next year. So, you know, continue to talk to them now about it, create the interest, and however we can help them close the sale, that's what we're here for. We can check more than one option if they want at a time. We can check different suite types in great detail. And the way we word our communication to agents is in a format that they can easily copy paste to their clients, so then they look like the star at the end of the day. And just also to note that, yes, we're dealing with a lot of luxury agents, but I think now for people that are, you know, trying to find those clients, this is the time to suggest these kind of hotels. You know, you might have thought that you didn't have that client in the past. They're now willing, as Alana said, and Moira and the others have said, they're willing to spend a little more, and it's not just on the room. It's about the experience and safety. So that's where our properties are very good at that as well.
That is such super advice. And this is exactly the time to dream. As I'd said to Alana, you know, I mean, I'm the one who's going to go to that next level up. So I want to see the ideas. I want to know about my flight options and my property options. It's very good what you've said. Thank you.
We can give you a few options.
I keep looking at the website. Oh, so Tanya, please do let us know, because these are good points. Your properties must be experiencing something like that too. If you can share with us.
Yeah, so I think our luxury travel suppliers, such as our hoteliers, our airlines, and our DMCs, they're doing an incredible job in adapting to the current situation. Of course, you know, we are all implementing now new safety and sanitary procedures. Some great examples of these would be the Manaba resorts. They announced their newest safety and sanitary procedures. We have privately owned villas, Tahitian homes, private islands who have also done the same. They've put out releases on those prevention measures. This, of course, includes things like face masks, sanitization, reduction of contact points, etc. So we are doing our due diligence to get that messaging out to our luxury travel professionals and putting all of that information on our Tahiti Tourism Canada website. But what's really exciting is that us as a destination have recently made the announcement to waive all cancellation and change fees until June 30th, 2021, and we will maintain equal rates until March 2022. Islands of Tahiti is going to be reopening borders on July 15th this year, and so these new policies are going to ensure that travelers can book with confidence. The agreement for that was with our most major international air carrier, which is Air Tahiti Nui. And Air Tahiti, which is the domestic airline in French Polynesia, as well as most of the hotels and tourism professionals that we work with on the ground in the islands of Tahiti. So the specifics of that agreement is the cancellation and change requests will be for any reservations that are made between, back from May 1st to September 30th of this year. and for travel within French Polynesia from July 15th to June 30th of next year. And we are going to waive any fees if there's a lockdown in the client's country of residence. If there's some sort of inability now to travel within French Polynesia due to closure of borders, if there's another lockdown, as some have suggested that will be happening globally again, or the inability to travel for someone whose COVID-19 test was found to be positive. And I'll speak to that in just a moment as to why that is. But if there is a prepaid trip, we will also allow reimbursement within 12 months from the initial date of booking. And the last thing, which I'm really excited about for all of the suppliers who have pledged to this, that there will be no increase in pricing until March 31st of 2022. And so those are some really, really awesome measures that I'm so proud that the Islands of Tahiti has taken for this. But to give kind of peace of mind to adapt to what's happening right now is part of our policy for anyone who will be entering into Tahiti starting on July 15th is that there needs to be the COVID-19 test taken 72 hours prior to their arrival. And then there's a consent form that needs to be signed either at the airport or on the flight, and masks must be worn on the flight as well. So those are some of the mandatory measures that will be taken in effect for all markets, so including Canada.
That is incredibly comprehensive. That is so detailed and so thorough, and these are the kinds of things that we're constantly looking for. So July 15th, effectively, Canadians will be able to travel to Tahiti.
Yep, that's right.
Good to share. Thank you. So Chris, let's ask you, how difficult is it for us to be able to book a private flight or a scheduled flight? How's it going?
Yeah, excellent question. So more traditionally, it's always been a quote-based option where you'll contact a private jet operator and you'll get a quote for a specific trip. But that's exactly actually what we did with a company called Abomis Innovations, which is a Canadian company, and we started to develop some new platforms using NDC functions, which is IATA's new capabilities for flight distribution. And until today, really, travel agents have not had access to private jets, and it's only been the bespoke itineraries that have had access, again, by a travel consultant or an advisor actually going out and doing the legwork. But there has not been somewhere readily where you can search for a flight and figure out, how much does it cost per seat if I want to actually book a private jet. So we actually spent about 6 months. We started in January because this is something that we were looking to work towards either way. But once the scenarios with COVID-19 started, then it basically became full force in our projects in order to get it into a final stage, which we are now in a final stage. So we've launched, we've soft launched, and it's not released yet, but at book.flygta.com, we'd be able to see our new platform. But it's been a lot of development that we've been focusing on just to simply be able to bring a new product into the hands of people to book. So I'm very happy that we were able to partner up with Abomis and we did create this platform. So stay tuned for that. I guess we'll show you that as the time comes over the next couple of weeks.
Congratulations, that's great. I'm sorry, it lagged just for a half second on my side there. If I understood you correctly, through NDC, you're going to have the ability, agents will have the ability to book your flights right on your website?
Yes, that's correct. On our website, and we are also starting to talk to some of the major GDS providers in order to do formal distribution so that there is not a big block in making reservations. But definitely through our website, and we are able to sign up agencies as of now. If they want to email us, the best one would be at FlyGTA, sales@flygta.com, and we'll be more than happy to set up agents to be able to book private jets. And it's not only our own private jets, but it's internationally we'd be able to source and bring options.
Wonderful. Well, this is I've got so many more questions. I think, Dan, if you can help me, since I was not that effective with Alana, I don't want to miss anyone. If you can help me with any Q&As, there's a few questions, I believe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So far there's one in the chat box and one in the Q&A box. So let's see. Did you want to dive into those now?
I'll let you manage those. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. So the first one is from Aisha, who asks, Chris, what is the average price for a group of 8 people wanting to charter a flight to the Bahamas, for example?
So Bahamas, I would say everything that we do is in US dollars, just to give a quick disclaimer. So any price I give, just because private jets, all of our parts and everything is done in US dollars. So if you're looking at a group of 8 people going to Bahamas return, you're looking probably just about the $22,000 US mark. So between 8 people, it's not a bad option at all. I think it really does make sense when it comes to actual package options.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chris. The next question is for Elaine. Venencia asks, Elaine, do you have any luxury properties in the Bahamas that can offer your clients a safe, intimate experience?
Venencia Strawn?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. We don't represent specific properties standalone in the Bahamas. We do, however, represent the Nassau Paradise Island Promotion Board. So that's basically hotel association. And in that association, there are a couple of boutique properties. For example, the Ocean Club in the Bahamas, the Bayview Suites on Paradise Island. A couple of those are definitely boutique options in Nassau PI.
Excellent. Thank you, Elaine.
Welcome.
And the next question is for Chris again. Chris, what is the maximum capacity on your flights?
So we operate aircraft out of Buttonville Airport of 8 passengers and out of Pearson up to 16 passengers.
Excellent. Thank you. Of course, anyone that has questions, you can submit them to either of the chat box or the Q&A box. Venencia says, thanks, Elaine.
Anytime.
And the next question is for Tanya. Tanya, are private island rentals available in Tahiti and French Polynesia? Are these seeing increased interest since COVID?
Thank you for the question. Yes, there are private island rentals available. As we've seen from some of our luxury travel professionals right now, what the trend appears to be is that they're looking for the larger kind of brand names, like I would say the Brando Resort, for example, or the Intercontinental, but looking at the highest kind of product rate in the categories there. But at this time, we haven't seen that island rentals are becoming more of the norm as of yet, but I'd like to see that happen, and I'd be interested to see how that will perform over time.
Great, thank you, Tanya. And Aisha asks, Moira, does GoAway offer private villa options for custom itineraries?
Absolutely. In pretty much all the destinations we sell, again, comes down to personalizing exactly where and what and how many, but yes, we do.
Thank you so much, Moira. And Tanya, is Tahiti still accommodating destination weddings at this time?
That's a very good question. As it stands, yes, we are. So a lot of the hotel partners that we work with are still able, they still have their entire team on board that does specialize in working with clients for destination weddings. And I'd be happy to refer to whoever asked that question to some of the resort properties that can accommodate that. So I can give you that list.
Great, thank you. And Venencia asks as a follow-up, can you mention the name and contact information for the private charter company?
Sorry, was that question for me?
Venencia, are we referring to Fly GTA? It might have been, yes.
Yeah, so Fly GTA. I will write it here in the chat.
That's great. Thank you, Chris. Great. She says thank you. Okay, I do believe that's it for the questions from the audience, and that pretty much wraps things up. But thank you so much, Tanya, Elaine, Moira, and Chris. That was fantastic. And thank you, Barbara, for moderating. That was so great.
Very
Thank
super.
you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
From all of us here at Baxter Media,
Thank you for having us.
thank you so much. I'd like to thank everyone for attending today and for taking time out of your day. If you happen to miss part of today's session, the recording will be available tomorrow on the Baxter Media YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everyone. And a huge thank you goes out to our panelists and to everyone else that participated today. Take care, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.